Hi, everyone. My name is Kamille Richardson. I am in the great city of Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I live. I am totally blind from birth, and I am the CEO and the founder of iSee Technologies. We like to call ourselves a people development firm, but we specialize in access and inclusion and workforce wellness. I'm also a motivational speaker, so do a lot of training, teaching people how to be more inclusive in the workplace, in the hiring process, and also even in the community. Also, we do trainings about workforce wellness as well, how to relieve the stress in the workplace, how to incorporate the tools to manage stress in the workplace. So that's what I do.
That's wonderful. I thank you so much for joining us today. I've been wanting to feature you ever since I found you were on a podcast. That's how I
Yes.
met you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you just have such a sparkling personality. I couldn't wait to introduce myself to you and to get you here on Bold Blind Beauty. So thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So, Camille, can you tell us how your journey, particularly your experience of being blind, can you tell us how that shaped and influenced your motivational speaking and consulting work?
Absolutely. So, like I said earlier, I'm blind from birth. So, I'm not new to this. It's one of the things that's just been my life. So, a lot of the stuff that I speak from is my lived experience whenever I am out speaking and motivating people. So, it's not tough for me to do because a lot of it is my story. And the reason that I do a lot of speaking engagements is because I want to spread awareness about blindness. I want to give us a voice. I want to let people know that we are out here, we're able to work, we're capable of working. We just need the opportunities to do that. So that's really my why. Spreading awareness is really the why I do what I do. I like to say that I activate the hearts and the minds and the future attitudes of people because when they first come in and they're listening to me, I don't know what people are thinking, but a lot of times when they think of disability, you think about it from a lens of not being capable. So when I'm
Yes.
done, I want to shift your attitude from that lens of disability to a lens of capability.
Definitely. And I think when we're talking about blindness specifically,
Mm.
most people are looking at it from their own personal lived experience of sight. So
Mhm.
when you can see and then you shut your eyes and you find yourself challenged to do just the bare minimum, it's like, oh, how can a blind person do anything? So their
Mhm.
perceptions, I think, come from a place of just really not knowing because even for people like myself who have acquired blindness, I was taught how to continue doing the things that I love to do.
Exactly. And a lot of times too, people they approach it from a place of fear. Blindness is one of the most feared disabilities. So there's also that because our sight is so all encompassing, right? You use your eyes to keep you safe. You use your eyes to navigate. So it's something that if you lost that, people really are just not sure what they would do. So it's so feared.
I definitely agree, and we have so much work to do.
Mhm.
So, Camille, what inspired you to transition from assistive technology coaching to founding iSee Technologies Inc.?
Well, fun fact, iSee Technologies Inc. was founded through my work as an assistive technology instructor. So when I first started, I was working with people who were blind and I was teaching them how to use the voiceover on their iPhones. I was teaching JAWS. I was teaching people how to use their iPad, any of their assistive technology. And the reason I did that is because a lot of people I worked with were people who lost their sight later on in life. So you're learning how to navigate this terrifying journey and now you have this paperweight that was formerly known as your iPhone or your computer or your iPad, because now you don't know how to use it. So, my purpose of founding iSee Technologies from an assistive technology standpoint was to help to reconnect people to the world, right? And helping them regain their independence. And part of regaining your independence is also gaining employment, because a lot of times when your sight goes, the employment is the first thing to go.
Yes.
So through the journey of teaching people how to be more independent with their technology and hopefully be gainfully employed, I was hearing the stories of people, going out and applying for these jobs, but not getting them. And we all know, without it being said, a lot of times why people weren't getting these jobs, even though they were qualified, they were called in for the interview. And I also have lived this experience. Again, my lived experience. Hence the reason why I started doing this work. But I realized that this was not just my story, it was their story. And I decided to evolve iSee Technologies because I did have a voice and a platform, and I knew a lot of people. My sister worked in the corporate space. So I knew that I had an in there because I would be able to get in with some of her possible colleagues and friends that she had in that world to be able to share this story with the people who need to hear it. So I said, you
Right.
know what I'm going to do? I'm going to evolve and become the solution to this problem and use my voice to help create those solutions and get in those rooms and get on those stages, because when we're talking to the blind, of course, we're preaching to the choir. People who are not blind need to hear the stories. And they didn't know that the story just doesn't apply to me. It applies to my other blind and visually impaired peers. So that's how I evolved.
Wow, that's just amazing. The work that you're doing is so important and so necessary to help to change those perceptions. Because, like you said, fear can be such a powerful thing, but I
Mhm.
believe so can demonstrating the counter to that fear by living our best lives. And you are
Mhm.
definitely doing that. So, Camille, could you share
Mhm.
some key insights or concepts from your keynote, The Magic of Being Differently Abled, a reframe on disability that contribute to your regular bookings as a speaker and consultant?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I talk about in my story a lot of times, I talk about my mom, who was really pivotal in me becoming who I am today. Because, I was born during the 80s. I'm not going to say which 80 it was. But anyway, when I was born, there was no Google. There was no online support groups. There was nothing. There was access to information. But even with all of that, the lack of information and everything seeming like the odds were stacked up against her, my mom was creative. My mom created spaces for me where there wasn't any. She taught me how to live. She taught me how to use my voice because she knew from a very young age I was going to grow into a blind adult who is going to need to learn how to speak for herself. And she also, during that time, was my biggest ally, my biggest advocate, my biggest coach and cheerleader. When I'm talking, one of the charges I give people is to be like my mama. Be willing to educate yourself about disability, even when you don't have any experience with this disability. We're not living in the 80s anymore, y'all. There's access to information there. So be willing to educate yourself because the more you learn, it'll help you grow. Be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and don't be afraid to ask questions because that's how we're going to learn. And also be that ally, be that advocate for someone. Don't be afraid to use your voice to speak up when you see things that are not right or speak up for someone who's in the disabled community and stand with them. Combine your voice with theirs.
You're speaking our language. It's so funny how life is a paradox. We are the same and yet we are different. But one thing we do share in common is we are temporarily abled, and disability can affect any of us at any given point during our lifetime. And if we are so blessed to live to an older age, we most definitely will require assistance.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I highlight too. We are all a hair's breadth away from a disability. It can happen at the blink of an eye. I met people through my journey of working with people who lost their sight. It can be for any kind of reason. It can be degenerative, a gradual loss of sight. It could be a car accident. It could be anything. You could see today and you can't tomorrow. So treat everyone the same way you would want to be treated and think of how you would want to be treated if you were in that situation, if you were in those shoes. Would you want somebody to give you a chance at employment? You know you've got the skills, they see you've got the skills. Wouldn't you want them to give you that opportunity to let those skills shine? Let that
Right.
innovation and creativity shine through, right?
Right. Well, you already spoke about your mom, but I
Mhm.
still want to ask you this question. What pivotal experiences or challenges did you encounter along your path to living your best life? And how do these stories motivate and encourage others?
Well, I along the way dealt a lot with depression. I dealt a whole lot with anxiety. I dealt with feeling less than. I mean, I dealt with a lot of those feelings. I'm presenting to you right now as a beautiful, confident blind woman. But there was a time that I did not believe that of myself. And there was nobody telling me otherwise. I came from a very supportive family. If I told them I wanted to fly a plane, they would find a way for me to do it. But when you don't see in yourself what others see in you, it really doesn't matter because it's all about what you think about yourself. And for a long time, I just did not think that I measured up to everybody else. I always felt that less than. But doing the work, leaning on my support system when I needed to, because that's another thing we struggle with is asking for help, or at least I do. I don't want to put that on everybody. But being willing to let that guard down, ask for the help I needed. Also, I'm a big proponent of therapy. That helped me as well, doing all the self work. That's how I got to where I am today. So I always encourage people to, first of all, don't be afraid to let somebody know what you're going through. Don't keep all of that inside. We don't have to be superhuman because that's what I prided myself on. Everybody used to always tell me, "Oh my gosh, Camille, you're so well adjusted. You're this and that." And the whole time I'm dying inside. So don't be afraid to show that vulnerable side to people that you trust. You don't have to do that for everybody, but to people that you trust, don't be afraid to let them know, hey, not feeling it today. You know, that superhero trope is always there, especially unfortunately for those of us who are blind or have any kind of disability. Either you are not able at all or you are some kind of superhero. When in all actuality, we are just living our life just like you. We're not special because we got up and went to work today. I always tell people that the power company would turn my lights off whether I can see them or not if I don't pay that bill.
Right. That is definitely true. Well,
Mhm.
as someone recognized for dedication to developing others, what specific approaches or methodologies do you employ in your consulting and training facilitation to foster inclusion and growth within companies and organizations?
Well, I think it is important. Well, it is very, very important to include stats because you have people out there who just want the numbers and things like that. As you can tell, I am a storyteller. I am someone who, in order for me to get my point across, I'm going to tell you in a story. That's one of the main things that I employ is sharing stories, even if it's about me, if it's about someone else. But I wanted to really hit home how inclusion is important for us all. And the best way I know to do that is to use storytelling.
I think stories are one of those things that really connect us.
Exactly. And it brings the person in and it's like, I just
Right.
want them to see that. So I feel like for me, the best way that I can demonstrate that is through sharing stories and giving action steps with those stories.
That's one of the reasons why we do that here at Bold Blind Beauty, demystifying blindness through storytelling by sharing the stories of people like yourself and others who are not necessarily doing extraordinary things, but just doing the day-to-day things that everybody else does so that people can
Mhm.
understand that, yeah, we're just like everybody else.
Yeah, we're just like y'all. People don't even realize that not all of us live in the dark. You know, when you think of blindness, you think of total blackness. Only 10% of people are completely in the dark. I have light perception myself.
Right. Just like you and I having a discussion about color for someone who's never seen color and how you describe that to someone.
Mhm.
It's difficult, but I still believe in possibilities and like your mom using creativity to try to figure some of those things out.
She passed that on to me. And if you think about it, we all use some sort of creativity in order to navigate a world that wasn't made for us, right?
Yes.
So every day we're having to be creative and figure things out. And we do it without even thinking about it sometimes.
Yeah, we are master problem
And
solver.
that's why we're being good assets because we're gonna work that problem right on out.
Right, right. Well, Camille, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation.
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the work that you do by highlighting the stories of people in the Blind community because you talk to some people who do some fabulous things. So, thank you for the work that you're doing as well at Bold Blind Beauty.